Let's see. I think I'll do one of my hand rubbies. Let's see, maybe I'll get myself on there rather than you. Let's see. Here I am. Okay, and I got my glasses. Yep, that was funny, Barbara, but I forgot my glasses last night. God, I think it worked out okay because Tom's a good reader. Well, I thought I'd try to write something today for tonight because I hadn't written anything all week. But what I did was I brought my Neruda book to the to the cafe, so I think it made me write a really weird poem. So anyway, here it is in the style of Pablo Neruda. Inside my mind, a maelstrom of concerns, all seeking to foster an illusion of control, all seeking to bolster my vanity. As my eyes look outward, I see everything wanting to destroy me. Only thing that wants peace, my heart red, warm, bringing light and heat, pulsing in the celestial furnace, telling me to step outside on forgiving soil, where rain and sun combine to bring life. Hands over eyes bring inner sight, brings me to the intersection of life and death. Inhaling, exhaling, I join 1,000 oceans, throbbing against the shores of some unknown alchemy. Inside is outside, outside is inside. I am nothing and everything. So,
Wow,
I don't know what that means, but it was
that's deep.
inspired by Neruda. I never know if he really means what he knows what he says either. Anyway,
Well, that one was a keeper.
oh, you like it? Yeah,
Yep.
there's some good lines in there. I just don't know how it all comes together, but I had this idea of inside and outside. That was my starting point. But anyway, I'm glad you liked it. Well, I think I've run through my new book. I'm going to start on my first book again to read. This is called The Bee. The long whips of the pear tree grow skyward, yearning for source, creating white flowers to honor sun. Smell of praise attracts bees. Furry angels play in pollen. Fruit grows heavy, bending the branches in remembrance of beginning and end. Bending down to smell a rose, at last moment I see the bee, sipping nectar covered in sticky yellow. How could I ever believe its little life was separate from mine, from my dreams, from my beginning, my end?
Very nice.
That's a pretty good poem for a first book. Here's one called The White Butterfly. The blackberries have snaked into the knobby fig branches, their black fruit interspersed with the yet green figs. Sitting right leg crossed over left, foot bouncing a little, I'm here reading a poetry book, lost in thought. Cat opens a sleepy eye. She has noticed the white butterfly's wings slapping the air. Wriggling her whole body, she runs after and pounces. Capturing my breath, I rise on my feet, take an impression of it all, including myself. In an instant, it all comes together. everything I see, and the invisible thread running through it all.
Mm.
That must be an old poem. My old fat cat wouldn't even bother to go run after a butterfly now. The laurel tree. I doubt the wind-sculpted laurel tree complains about the ever-blowing wind it bends. It bends as needed. Neither the buckeye is afraid of losing leaves, leaving only hard pods on bare branches. Knowing deep in roots sap will rise in spring. I can accept the fog rushing over the ridge, covering the warm sun. Jacket is at hand, the truck heater for the ride back. A lifetime of mistakes is harder to forgive. Those days of youthful dreams are lost in time. Only if I stand very still and blowing gray might I feel the unchanging pregnant with hope.
Mm.
That's another old poem. I haven't had a truck for years.
You can tell the difference between your first book and the book you have now. It's there. It's you have evolved a little bit. Not everything is just all of it's good, but it's different in the first part than it is in the last part.
Yeah, I suppose so. People say that to me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually quite fond of some of my earlier poems, but yeah, I think the newer ones can flow a little better.
No, I don't mean that. I just mean that it's different. It's just different um different subjects, different wording of things. It's just different, but it's not better or worse. It's just different.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm sure it is. Here's one called The Caterpillar. Next to my eye on the restaurant patio rail bounces by a caterpillar. His feelers sense the way. First 2 feet lead direction. Middle feet propel him in his up and down way. What looks like a rump stays on the wood, sliding along. When he is gone, I focus to the distance, far below, a river gorge, sinuously through the gorge. When it hits stones, it foams around them. Smooth slate gray areas. I know where deep pools. I know were deep pools. I imagine fish in there wriggling like puppies, staying still against the current, alert to foods floating by. Perhaps a caterpillar like mine.
Mm.
Maybe knocked off a branch by a blundering bear intent on berries, or dropped by a blue jay startled by a raven, left to drift in icy water. All things moving in the four directions, striving to live. Now my caterpillar reappears. He rises up on his butt and middle legs, looking for direction. Sitting on my chair, I look up at white clouds that seem to expand upward toward heaven.
Mm.
Let's see. I read a couple more. Frozen dreams. High in the mountains, a little patch of snow remains on the rocky slope. Now the hot, blessed sun is warming, revealing the little green tree living in the crack in glacial rocks, after the fierce winter held it under tons of frozen dreams.
Mm.
And maybe one more. Salmon. Fishermen line up on the beach. Many boats patrol offshore, all wanting to catch spawning salmon. The salmon yearning to return to that mountain stream of their birth. Next to one fisherman lies a dying coho salmon, half in the water, half out. In my youth I enjoyed fishing, but now I'm sad watching him occasionally jump with life, breathing the terrible air. I'd rather he made it past the humans and the bears. I walk down the beach, sit on a bleached driftwood log, its living outer layer long stripped off, like the salmon soon to be filleted off the bone. Once standing tall in the forest, now resting here, after how many years rolling in the sea? This scene makes a pretty picture. The river, the fisherman, the steel bridge up above. If I took a photo, it would be frozen in time. I could remember, and if I remembered me there too, then the salmon would be swimming free up the stream. The tree would stand beautiful in the forest. Life would be everywhere, and death irrelevant.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice to visit those old poems. And now you sent me one, Glenda. Let's see. There it is. All right, this is Glenda's poem. Titled Mercy Without Judgment. A poet wrote that mercy has no judgment. Another writes of rusty sins. Isn't mercy just the way in which we all should live our lives, free of righteous judgment and far from the rust of sins? Is my way better than yours? More likely, it's just my way. Are my sins defining of my life today? Or more likely to ground to dust by time? Learning to live in spite of the past, isn't that mercy without judgment? And opening my heart to others, praxis, doesn't it come with the fading of their sins? And who decides when sin no longer defines me? Where does mercy become the answer? Isn't it really just an empathetic desire to give away the love we kept in our hearts? Aren't we just sins forgiven by the hearts of someone else? By mercy without judgment, and sins ground into dust. Woo. Is that a new one? What?
It's actually 2 years old.
Okay.
To the day. I wrote it on December the 2nd, 2023.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot in there. Wow. You were doing some heavy thinking that day.
Heavy thinking is my specialty.
So is mine sometimes. I'm either thinking heavy or I'm thinking about nothing. or just silly stuff. Anyway, a very good poem again.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. Mercy without judgment. I guess that's kind of the definition of mercy. There's no judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, since my crazy poem was fostered by Neruda, I thought I'd read a Neruda. calls this a sonata. Huh. Is that a form of poem? A sonata? Isn't that a musical term?
No, I think so.
There is no forgetfulness, it's titled. If you ask where I have been, I have to say, it so happens. I have to talk about the earth turned dark with stones and the river which ruins itself by keeping alive. I only know about objects that birds lose, the sea far behind us, or my sister crying. Why so many different places? Why does one day merge into another day? Why does a black night gather in the mouth? Black. How does he come up with these lines? Why all these people dead? If you ask where I come from, I have to start talking with broken objects and kitchenware that has too much bitterness, and animals quite often rotten with my heavy soul. What I have met and crossed are not memories, nor the yellow pigeon that sleeps in forgetfulness, but they are faces with tears, fingers at the throat, anything that drops out of the leaves, the shadowiness of a day already passed by, of a day fed with our own mournful blood. Look and see violets, swallows, all those things we love so much, and can see in the tender greeting cards with long tails, where time and
Okay.
sweetness are sauntering. But let's not go deeper than those teeth, nor nor bite into the rinds growing over the silence, because I don't know what to say. There are so many people dead, and so many seawalls that have the red sun used to split, and so many heads that the boats hit, and so many hands that have closed around kisses, and so many things I would like to forget. God, no wonder I wrote a crazy
Yeah.
poem reading him. I wonder if he just like throws lines together for the hell of it. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's kind of fun to read. I mean, such an imagination with words. Let's see, what else do we have? Well, we'll get a little bit more mellow with some Chinese stuff. Well, first we'll read a little Machado. Summer night. A beautiful summer night. The tall houses leave their balcony shutters open to the wide plaza of the old village. In the large deserted square, stone benches, burning bush and acacias trace their black shadows symmetrically on the white sand. In its zenith, the moon in the tower, the clock's illuminated globe. I walk through this ancient village, alone like a ghost. And here's one by an old Chinese feller, Wang Wei. A white turtle under a waterfall. I read this one before, that's okay. The waterfall on South Mountain hits the rocks, tosses back its foam with terrifying thunder, blotting out even face-to-face talk. Collapsing water and bouncing foam soak blue moss, old moss so thick it drowns the spring grass. Animals are hushed, birds fly but they don't sing. Yet a white turtle plays in the pool's sand floor under the riotous spray, sliding about with the torrents. The people of the land are benevolent. No angling or net fishing. The white turtle lives out its life naturally. Like that. There's another one by some old Chinese fella. Getting up in winter. Winter morning, pale sunlight strikes the ceiling. She gets out of bed reluctantly, Her nightgown has a bamboo sash. She wipes the dew off her mirror. At this hour, there is no one to see her. Why is she making up so early? Making up, not waking up.
Why does she have dew on her mirror?
Yeah, really. Maybe, yeah, she must have.
Maybe she's a fairy and she's out in the garden and that's where her mirror is.
I don't know. Or she left the window or the door open. I don't know. As soon as she's making it. She must be making up her face or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's read one more by this guy named Steve Coet. What chord did she pluck? What chord did she pluck in my soul? That girl with the golden necklace and ivory breasts, whose body ignited the river. She who rose like a moon from her bathing and brushed back the ebony hair that fell to her waist and walked off into the twilight dark. Oh, my soul, what chord did she pluck that I am still trembling?
Hmm.
It's nicely erotic in a way. Here's a lever toff. A woman meets an old lover. He who he with whom I ran hand in hand, kicking the leathery leaves down Oak Hill Path 30 years ago, appeared before me with anxious face, pale, almost unrecognized, hesitant, lame. He whom I cannot remember hearing laugh out loud, but see in mind's eye smiling, self-approving, wept on my shoulder. He who seemed always to take and not to give, who took me so long to forget, remembered everything I had so long forgotten. Hmm. Let's see, let's read one by May Swenson. Question. Body, my house, my horse, my hound, what will I do when you are fallen? Where will I sleep? How will I ride? What will I hunt? Where can I go without my mount? All eager and quick, how will I know in the thicket ahead is danger or treasure when body, my good bright dog is dead? How will it be to lie in the sky without roof or door, a wind for an eye, with cloud for shift? How will I hide? Oh, Zoom is telling me I'm running out of time. Okay, maybe I should read. Oh, my friend gave me a new book by a Russian writer. I think I've heard of her, Akhmatova. I was reading some of them, but they were so sad. Oh my God. She lived through a sad time. Like, I had to try to find one that wasn't too terribly sad. I know she's quite famous, I think. Anyway, there's one of hers. I wrung my hands under my dark veil. Why are you pale, and what makes you reckless? Because I had made my loved one drunk with an astringent sadness. I'll never forget. He went out reeling. His mouth was twisted, desolate. I ran downstairs, not touching the banisters, and followed him as far as the gate, and shouted, choking, I meant it all, in fun. Don't leave me, or I'll die of pain. He smiled at me, oh so calmly, terribly, and said, why don't you get out of the rain? Okay. Well, I think it's Mary time. This is Hummingbird pauses at the trumpet vine. He who doesn't love roses and who doesn't love the lilies or the black ponds floating like flocks of tiny swans, and of course the flaming trumpet vine, where the hummingbird comes like a small green angel to soak his dark tongue in happiness, and who doesn't want to live with the brisk motor of his heart singing like a Schubert, and his eyes working and working like those Days of Rapture by Van Gogh and Arles. Look, for most of the world is waiting or remembering, most of the world is time. When we're not here, not born yet or died, a slow fire under the earth with all our dumb, wild, blind cousins who also can't even remember anymore their own happiness. Look, and then we will be like the pale, cool stones that last almost forever.
Hmm.
Excuse me. Well, let's read one last one from Mary. White flowers. Last night in the fields, I lay down in the darkness to think about death, but instead I fell asleep, as if a vast and sloping room filled with those white flowers that open all summer, sticky and untidy in the warm fields. When I woke, the morning light was just slipping in front of the stars, and I was covered with blossoms. I don't know how it happened. I don't know if my body went diving down under the sugary vines in some sleep-sharpened affinity with the depths, or whether the green energy rose like a wave and curled over me, claiming me in its husky arms. I pushed them away, but I didn't rise. Never in my life had I felt so plush, or so slippery, or so resplendently empty. Never in my life had I felt myself so near that porous line where my own body was done with, and the roots and the stems and the flowers began.
Hmm.
All right. Well, that was okay. That was good.
Yeah, thank you, Jon.
Thank you. I always look forward to reading on Wednesday nights. Okay. Well, Barbara and Glenda, you have a good week, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.